All right, hey there, fellow coder. Welcome to this next lesson in our series where we are building a real-world web app from scratch, leveraging React on the front end and Spring Boot via Java on the back end. So in this one, we're going to be diving into making our assignment submission app again, prettier in the page that you're looking at currently on the screen, as this needs to be prettied up a little bit with some Bootstrap CSS, and then adding in some functionality to actually update the status right now. So we need to be able to make this button do something when we submit an assignment to be reviewed. So if that sounds like a plan to you, stick around. All right, so without further ado, let's jump into the good stuff. So on this page, as promised, we need to sort of pretty this up a little bit. Now, this is the assignments page. I guess it's the assignments view indexed file. And this is what we use to fetch the information about the assignment and update it and, save and update, whatever. So this code is what we need to start off with. The first thing, the easiest, lowest hanging fruit thing that we can do is to change this button to be the capital B button, which will leverage Bootstrap. Control space to import, click on that guy, save, and now we should have a more Bootstrap-ish type of button. Now I just have a preference for large buttons. They just look a little nicer to me for this sort of layout. I don't know why, that's just a personal preference, of course. And then this stuff can be turned into a little bit more of the form structure that Bootstrap allows for us to have. So let's look at the React Bootstrap documentation and we'll find the component or the layout for a form. We'll go to components, and is it button group? No, I thought it was form. No, but not button group. There's buttons. Is it utilities? Forms. You never know where you need to go. So the forms are here. You have the label above, and then the what you call it below. We might do that. Let's see. I might prefer a more side-by-side approach, but hey. Because then they get really large when you expand the screen like this. They don't necessarily need to be this large. Is there form control? Here we go. Show me. Yeah, so this is more of the layout I would be potentially looking for. We don't need any file input. Yeah, so maybe this layout, where was it? Here. Might be the layout I'm looking for, right? So how do they accomplish this? So they have form group as row. Gotcha. So the group is a row. So the as row is, I guess, what they add in there to make it work nicely. So yeah, we'll copy just this code because we don't need to actually have an HTML form here. HTML forms are useful when we're actually using HTML to submit forms. We're not using HTML to submit forms. We are using fetch calls from JavaScript to do a REST call and back. So yeah, we don't need to worry about that. So for this guy, let's see, status needs to be submitted. I mean, we'll see if we need to update the status here, but this guy with the GitHub URL, we can transform this into a form group. So let me click on the form, control space to import it from React Bootstrap. Same with column, control space, click. And then I assume same thing for row, control space, click. There we go. I'll save, and then that will bring in, the same data that we had from the example in the other page. Now, we want to replace this with GitHub URL will be the label, and then the input will be the form control. Okay, hold on. Form control, plain text. So we don't want read only here. Now that's an interesting thing. So let's look at an example of the password. How's the password done? Form label, form control type. Okay, so there we go. That's a little bit more of what we are looking to do. Form control, and then the placeholder will be. What do we have for the placeholder before? We didn't have one. So this placeholder will be, HTTPS:// github.com/ username / repo name, or something like that, for example. And then the type is not password, the type will be text. And then we need to, the type is URL, I should say, URL. The ID will be GitHub URL. On change, I guess we could just copy paste this stuff. On change, and then the value. Like that. Save. So there's our GitHub URL text. So the form label, we can augment this if we like with some style. Or even a class name if we want to say class name is like H3 or whatever like we had before. H2? H1? Does that not work? Oh, I thought there was a way to do an H. It's not like H-3 or anything, is it? No. It seems like all the headers are the same size. Interesting. So there might be a class name to make it slightly larger. Form label, I guess we'll have to look that up. Otherwise, we can just do it manually with styling ourselves. But we'll look it up and see if we can find anything. And we'll do the same thing so we can get rid of this GitHub URL code, because that should function the same, right? So when we click on this and type in github.com/something and submit assignment, it should save it. So that should be saved. If I refresh, yeah, so it populates that, so that's good. And then same for the branch, same kind of thing. We can have the form group copy paste. Now, instead of GitHub URL, it'll be the branch, and then the input type is text, not URL. The ID is branch, not GitHub URL. On change and value. Can be here. Save. Boom. So there's the branch, and as you can see, it lines up a bit nicer, right? Now the placeholder I should change for the branch to be something like, you know, main or something. Okay, cool. Although I don't know if I love the placeholder text when I do that, because it looks like that is my branch, at least with the way it's laid out right now. It looks like it's too close to, like, if I actually had the thing named main, like, the difference is not very, you know? Oops. So, yeah, the difference is not very big. So let me go back here. I could call this example branch name or something. Although our branch is separated by underscores. Username, repo name. I think that's good enough. I think that looks a little bit better. So, cool. So then we have that. Obviously, we need to make this look a little bit prettier. It's spanning the entire length of of the width of the screen. So that means that this whole thing should probably be contained inside of a container. So instead of having a div here, we can bring in our React or our Bootstrap container, right? Save that. Boom. So now things are a bit, you know, they're a bit more, I guess they're centered and they don't span the entire width of the screen. So let's see, what else do we want to do? It looks like we need to give more. Let's see. So if we go to, good. So if we go to a small screen, it does this. On extra small, it spans 2 lines, which is great. That's what we want to see. On the small screen, it's still a bit. Still a bit squished. So we could probably say on a small screen, the label can be 3, and the other thing can be 9. So that'll give the GitHub URL more space. And then if we want to mimic it for the branch as well, we can do the same thing for the small screen being 3 columns and the other one being 9. And then as we get bigger, we can switch it back, right? So on a medium-sized screen, we can have 2, and the medium-sized screen, we can have 10. So what that looks like is this. So it sort of gives more width for the text, for the, what's this called, text box. Although we don't necessarily need that much space either. We could say 8, right? So we can start to mess with it that way. So let's see. So medium, we only need 2. And medium here, we said 8 to make them line up with each other. And then if we make it even bigger, you know, maybe on the large screen, on large, we can really just say 6. And on the large, we can say 6. Right? Beautiful. Yeah. So this the way that sort of expands, it just kind of looks sort of right. It just feels correct. So that looks good to me. Good. So that's that. Now, I would like a bit more top margin. So I believe we can have a class name here on the container and say margin top of like 5 or something to push stuff down. There we go. And obviously the status here, I don't like the look of this. So I think with a status, I would like to put a little bubble here. I forgot the name for it. It's like a little, what is it called? Components. Popovers? No. Tooltips? No. Overlays. Figures? No. Badge. I think it's a badge. Yeah, so something like this. Right? We can have a badge. Or a pill, even. Yeah, I like this. I like the look of the pill. So what we can do is, let's grab, we'll turn this, take a badge example. And what we can do is, we'll put this guy to the right of the assignment's name. Although we also need to have an update for the assignment's name. We shouldn't, right now we're hard coding it as assignment and then the ID of the assignment, which is not correct. So we need to also add in the name, but yeah, we'll get there when we get there. So then the next thing I want to do, yeah, is to, put the, in next to this. So the badge, if you will, that we'll call the pill, and import it. So that's sort of what it'll look like. Now that's obviously way too big. Well, I shouldn't say obviously. It looks way too big to me. So what I want to do is, that's because it's in the H1, so it needs to be below the H1, but if we put it below the H1, then it sort of bumps down to the next line, and I don't think I want it to do that. I want it to be next to the H1 part. So essentially we need to put all of this in a row. One column will be the assignment, and then the next column in this row will be the pill, right? Like so. We'll need to line it up and stuff, but that's okay. We can do that in a moment. Now, the actual text inside of it should be the assignment status. Boom, needs to be submitted. Then we can get rid of this H2 status to clean that up a bit, and maybe add some, I don't know, top margin to something, to the form group, I guess. No, that would do it for each. Oh, no, it's not for each assignment. It's for that first assignment. Okay. So we'll add some bottom. So we'll do MY instead of MB, which means add top and bottom margin of 3. Boom. Right? We could even make it 4. You see what's happening? So, although that's putting space between this form and this form. So, yeah, I think that's good enough. And cool. Now, I don't love the color of the needs to be submitted. Maybe we should have some sort of an info, light or dark. What color do I like for the status? Maybe info. So we'll change it to be info just to see what that's like. So we'll change this primary to info, which will change the color. It needs to be submitted. Cool. And then I can maybe even make that text just a little bit bigger. So, again, there's probably a class to do this. Is there let me expand this and look for, is it layout? That would be probably not layout. Forms, utility, components. Is there something for like text? There's nav bars and text. I don't think that's what I want. I want a way to change the text size and stuff through their classes, which I don't know where that stuff is. Theming. I don't think it's in theming. Support, layout, forms. Again, I don't think it's layout, grid versus stack. forms, components, utilities, ratio, migrating about. Yeah, I can't recall the. I could probably say Bootstrap text size, typography. H1, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, class name be H1, H2, H3, which I did, and it didn't seem to work, but anyway. Text muted, okay. Faded secondary text, okay. Display headings. Oh, I didn't know you could do display headings. That's neat. Lead. Inline text elements. Highlight. You can bold it. Can you make it just a little bit bigger or something with a... You can do block quotes. You can align it. Lists. Okay, so I think the only mechanism I have here, if I want to just use the classes that are built into Bootstrap, is just to use the H tags. So we can say class name H3. See, but it doesn't update that, which is odd. That's something feels wrong there. So let me go to needs to be submitted element, and let me inspect it and see, do we have an H3 tag being applied to it? So the class is H3 in here, but does it actually add... Yeah, see, it's getting crossed out. Why? Why is the H3 getting overridden? So border radius, background color, display. So there's a font size here. Oh, maybe the badge's font size is overriding it. Could be. So if I get rid of this, yeah. So the badge's font size itself is overriding it. So I guess you'd have to have inline style to override its, you know. So we could say font size is, I don't know, we'll try 1.5 ems and see what that looks like. Yeah, so that's too big, right? And we can play around with that. So let's see, 1.2, 1.1, even just 1 is not bad. Yeah, I think that's okay. Now we need to align it. So how do you align two elements in one row sort of horizontally with each other? That I tend to use flex for. So in the row, I would have a class name of deflex to bring in flexbox, and then you would say justify, or I think is it align content center or justify content center? Justify content center. Deflex, justify. Is it just justify center? Oh, I can never remember. Let's go here and justify content. Justify and fill. This is not flex stuff. So let me say flex justify content. So justify content's the property, and then center. Yeah, so that's okay. So that's how you do it with flex. Let me just see if it's actually getting applied here. Let me inspect the row and make this bigger. So show me. Yeah, see, so it is saying justify content center. So that one did work. It's just, I guess the wrong one. I guess it's align content center, right? And that's coming in, align content center, but it's not aligning it. So this is an annoying flex thing. Okay, so flex, why you gotta, you know, we struggled with this last time. Why do we gotta struggle with it this time? So is it because, so let's take a look at our div. So the div has flex on it. I guess maybe it's maybe the justifying the content on the row is not what needs to happen. Maybe we need to have flex, and then we need to justify the columns. That's probably what needs to happen, right? So we can say justify content center. Oops, sorry, we saved this. Doesn't really move assignment 1, but we'll see if this class on the column over here, which has the badge, and we'll try align content center. Well, I would have bet that that would have worked. Let's have our... There was a great article somewhere. Yeah, this guy that talks about, that gives, you know, wonderful... So justify content. So that's not the one, right? We want to do align. Oh, align items. Did I say align content? Ah. See, this stuff is annoying. So it's align items center. Come on, man. Ooh, I just closed the window. Localhost, let's go back to the dashboard and we'll click on assignment 1, I think is the one we were messing around with. So let's do deflex. Let's try it on the row first and then we'll do it back on the columns if it needs to be on the columns. But it's, you know, anyway. Align items center. There, now they're aligned. Oy, oy, oy. So that's the, again, rookie mistake. This is, there's just so much with doing grid and flexbox and remembering all the nuances for each of the properties. You know, you need to work with this day in and day out all the time to memorize these things. I haven't memorized them. So anyway, there, now we have this nice little pill thing with the needs to be submitted. Again, it's not the prettiest thing in the world, but hey, it's better than we had before. So I take that as a win. Now the name assignment 1 here, we probably want to change that. I kind of, so in the previous lesson, or in one of the previous lessons, I'd added in the assignment name field, but now I'm realizing that the assignment's name is really derived from which assignment number this is that we're submitting, right? So I probably want to have some business logic here that outlines, that looks into which assignments have already been submitted for a student, and then we can figure out, you know, from a drop down or something. Essentially, we can have a drop down that they can choose from to say which assignment is this, and move and go from there, right? So maybe we'd have another form group or something. So let's have copy paste this form group, and then we can call this assignment number. And then the form control here, we need to look up how to do a form control for a drop down, which is always a pain in the butt. So can we have a drop downs? So drop down button. Because this drop down button can say assignment number. I don't know. I don't think I like that. So there's definitely a lot of choices for drop downs. I guess we'll just start with something like this. Now, this is the wrong Bootstrap. I should have done this in here. This is the React Bootstrap. Buttons with drop downs. So that way we can copy the code appropriately. Drop down. Is there a drop down on its own? This is from input group. Interesting. Input group is where we have drop downs. So what was it here? Drop downs was a component. So here we go. Like, why wouldn't, when I search for this, why wouldn't it? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, here's our drop downs. I don't know. Maybe we'll do an info one. Who knows? But basically, this is the code here for the drop downs. So I copied the well, I don't need all the variants. So basically their code here, what it's doing is it's creating an array of words and then transforming each of those words into its own drop down, which is why you see all these ones here. We don't need to do that. We just need a regular old drop down button, and we can bring that into our code. So let's do that. Here's our assignment. So instead of assignment 1, it's almost like we want to have, I'm not sure how to do this. We'll do, right, this form control here can be the drop-down button. As button group, I guess we need to import that. The variant will be info. The ID will be, let's see, this will be assignment name, I guess. Didn't we just do the variant? Oh, that's the key. Sorry, info. The key. We don't need a key. We needed a key when they were doing their code with all the different ones, but we don't need that. The title for now, we're okay. We don't need that. And then the drop-down items. Let's import those. So the drop-down items are each of the numbers of assignments that we have available. So this is where this code will be potentially dynamic, right? So how do they do their dynamic code? Where was it? They had, right. So we could do an object wrapper here with the array. So we can have an array of essentially numbers, like one, we can make them strings, like 1, 2, for example, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever, 3, 4. We'll hard code this for now and then change it later. So this, how do they do this? We can say a dot map on the array. Oh, cool. Yeah. So we can do a dot map and transform the assignment number into drop-down items. So each of these can be a drop-down item, where the event key can be the, I guess, the assignment number. Right? And then this can also be the assignment number. Cool. That way we don't need all these drop-down items or divider or any of this stuff, and we can do that, right? And we can import drop-down button. Okay, so now let's go back and I will say save. Sweet. So now we have a drop-down, right, with all these numbers in it. Now, there's more that's going to be needed here to make this work properly, obviously, because it doesn't look very good right now. But I just wanted to sort of get sort of the start of the lay of the land here for this guy without making this video go too long. But this is the start of what we'll play around with next, which is, hey, we should be able to select a number here and then update the, I guess, the value of the drop-down button. Somewhere in here there's probably, where is this? Drop-down action. Where's it getting the word primary from, right? Button group. Sorry, let's go to here. Oh, no, let's go to here. Oh, title. So the title, essentially then, once we select an assignment number, we can store the assignment number that we've selected as state, and then we can populate the drop-down button's title, you know, as being the state that we will store. So for example, if I just type in assignment 1 here as the title, it says assignment 1, right? So just to show you that we can hard code that, and yeah, we'll figure that out in terms of what the workflow will look like in terms of the UI. The UI, you know, look and feel is one thing, but I'm more concerned about what is the best way to do this so that the student, you know, can submit the correct assignment, right? And that they know how to choose properly and whatnot. So we'll dive into that, I guess, in the next lesson. So if this was fun for you, it was fun for me, please do go ahead and above my face, you can subscribe to this channel. It is free to subscribe, and you will see more of this content, obviously, in your feed when you do so. So be sure to do all that stuff. I'm sure you are more than capable on YouTube at this point. So looking forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you so much for subscribing and liking this video, and happy learning. Bye for now.